Guys, it's Skybird, and today we're going to be taking a look at 3 brand new mask casts along with 1 new piece. But before I get into that, I did want to go ahead and say, if you like the content, make sure to subscribe. I got to do my due diligence here. Subscribing is not only free, it makes sure that you're going to see future content from me or past content. It also helps me in the algorithm. We have been steadily growing, so let's keep that trend going, right? And yeah, literally with just a subscription, you could help to change somebody's life. That's pretty cool, and it's free. All right, I've done my silly little thing for today. So let's go ahead and take a look at our pieces. The first piece here is the Huna, and they are all going to be this blend of red and black, a very popular, very common blend. But what I found interesting is that this is what I would call a gradient mix. And so a gradient is pretty self-explanatory. It's basically where 2 or more colors meet and they actually blend together homogeneously, smoothly. There's a smooth transition between the 2 colors. And that's important because this is actually the exact same process that I did for this. But this is not a gradient. This is what I would call, now I'm just calling it this, I don't know if this has a specific name, but a diffusion pattern. So why diffusion? Basically what I mean by that is that where these 2 colors meet, they don't blend homogeneously. They don't get along too well. And so instead they become little entrapped particles, a little bit of like a stippling pattern between each other, right? The black and the white go together, but they don't mingle. They don't like each other very much. And it's interesting because I was able to create this pattern with white. I was able to do so with dark turquoise, which if you want to see the recipe for this color, by the way, you should go ahead and check out my last video because I give that away for free. But yeah, I was able to do it with this pattern and this pattern, but why not with the red? And I think it has to do with one color specifically, the white. This has white in it very clearly. But this mix of dark turquoise that I created also contains a little bit of white. And white is important because it's actually the only color I have not been able to successfully mix into the resin. Whether I mix it into part A or part B, it always separates out at some point. None of the other colors have done this. Now you might look at that and chalk it up to being, a failure. Let's try with a different brand or a different chemical, a different color, whatever. But I look at that and I say, it didn't work. It didn't give me what I wanted, but it gave me something interesting. This sort of emulsified aesthetic that I can work with, that I can play with. I could do interesting things. Now, that dark turquoise does not have a lot of white in it, so I can't guarantee that it's the white causing this, but it's worth experimenting. My blend for red, which is also a blend, and I'll talk about that in a future video, does not contain white at all, but it contains a red and a yellow in it to give you this more saturated, vibrant color that's very close to Lego's red. But because it does not contain that white and it does not contain any colors that do not separate out, I think that is actually what ended up influencing that stippling, that diffusion pattern. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next 2 masks. How I would confirm this in the future is I would do this exact same thing again, but I would make sure to add white to that red color so that if I pull the piece out and it gives me that diffusion pattern, it doesn't confirm on its own that that is the case, but it does bolster that it may be because of that white color. I should mention all the colors I'm using also are from Apple Barrel as a brand. I've again mentioned this in the video. Go ahead and go watch that color recipe video. It's a good one. People have loved it. But yeah, super happy with the Matatu. It always gives you such interesting color schemes and mixes in general. I love it. And I pulled these masks out this morning, so of course they do need cleanup. And then the Rao here as well. This one does not actually give me a perfect symmetrical blend, mostly because the Rao is actually at a slight angle. As you can see, it's not perfectly, upright, but it tilts a little bit as I pour. And that means that the color is going to favor one side over the other. Whereas a color like or a mask like this actually has a symmetric spread of the colors. The colors mix to both sides evenly or reasonably evenly. The same is kind of true for the Matatu here. So that's it for the masks. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next piece, a piece that I am very excited for, but I do need to continue to work on. That is the Metru eye stalk here. Now this piece unfortunately was a bit of a fail, but not too bad. A little bit of an underfill at the base there, so you can see we didn't get quite enough color in there. That's because it's fairly close quarters. There's not a lot of room for the resin to move around at that location, but I am going to go ahead and try making a larger funnel for this in the future. More importantly, though, that this is supposed to match Lego's old fluorescent trans yellow. It's not a perfect match. I think it needs more pigment, more color to it, more saturation to it. It's also going to need more fluorescence, but this does fluoresce. So how do you do fluorescence in resin? That's the next part of this video. There are plenty of household chemicals that you can get your hands on that have fluorescent properties to them, but the problem is many of them are either expensive or are toxic, and like you don't want to just be playing around with those all the time, right? What I have found though that works out reasonably well and is widely available is highlighters. Highlighters are designed to highlight. They're designed to be fluorescent. They're available at a wide variety of places for a fairly cheap price, oftentimes $1 for several, right? And on top of that, they come in a plethora of different colors and often glow true to the color of the highlighter itself. So blue will glow blue, pink will glow pink, yellow will glow yellow, etc. You get my point. What I have found though is that just pouring the highlighter fluid into the resin doesn't work on its own. It does not mix in. No matter how much mixing you do, if you pour it into part A, part B, or both together, at least with the brand of resin that I'm using, it doesn't mix. It always separates out and then floats to the top and creates a sort of skim layer at the very top. What I have found though that works, that helps it suspend, is cornstarch powder. Again, I keep coming back and shining praise on cornstarch powder because it's relatively cheap, but it's also kind of a miracle worker when it comes to resin casting for a number of reasons, and it is useful for both resin and silicone, so it has its uses everywhere in the process. But in this case, adding just a little bit of cornstarch powder, maybe I don't even want to say 5% by weight. I didn't weigh it, I just eyeballed it, but like maybe 3% at most, will actually give something for that fluorescent liquid to bond to that can then dissolve into solution. And this has proven to work. Without the cornstarch powder, not only does the fluorescence not mix in, but it also is just less vibrant overall. The cornstarch powder will dissolve, so you're not going to see particles, but it will bond to the fluorescent liquid and then dissolve into solution. And so it'll carry that fluorescence with it, which is pretty cool. So anyway, that's basically it for the video. If you guys did like it, make sure to leave a like. Let me know by hitting the like button. Smash the like. You get it. I'm not going to be corny about this stuff. Cringy, whatever. And of course, as always, you can get a hold of me. Let me know any questions you might have in the comments below, or check out my links in the description. You can find my Instagram and Discord. I am on Threads now, but I have no posts yet. It's not really my type of social media, but I do need to broaden things. As I've mentioned, we are growing, so it's worth investing in my social media prowess, I guess, and trying to become a better communicator on all different types of social media. That said, link tree in the description below, and if you want to support what I do here, you can always check out my Patreon, which I need to remember the name of. In the future, I did also think about this. I will be adding Rahi instructions to an exclusive channel in the Discord searcher for Patreon as well. Currently, they're on my Gumroad, but I am going to be moving from Gumroad. All prices will be the same. You'll be able to buy them directly through Patreon, or you'll be able to get them just through a normal subscription through Patreon. And the lowest tier, $1 tier, is more than enough. All of my instructions are going to be available, with the exception of like maybe one that's a little bit larger that has a lot of hours sunk into it. But everything else will be pretty much that $1 tier. And so, yeah, because I do this for you guys. I don't really try to do it to make money, but you know, I got to be smart about this kind of stuff at the end of the day and turn it into something. All right. I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.